welcome to SimUK. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today I'm going to share with you my thoughts and experiences with Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Now it's fair to mention that whilst the game is still in beta, it is due to release across all platforms on October the 4th, 2019. So I think it's pretty fair to say that the vast majority of features, both good and bad, are likely to be present on release day. So if you're one of the few who hasn't pre-purchased Breakpoint and by proxy had access to the beta, then this video is perfect for you, as I will honestly appraise what aspects I found to be good and those that I found to be frustrating, disappointing or downright appalling. If you find the information in this video helpful, please do click on that like button below and subscribe to see more content like this in the future. Ghost Recon Breakpoint is the successor to Ubisoft's 2017 release, Ghost Recon Wildlands, and the two titles are inexplicably linked via the character Cole D. Walker, who is played by John Berthnell. This character was introduced with the free Operation Oracle DLC for Wildlands on May the 2nd, 2019.
Walker, shall we, Weaver?
Ubisoft are well known for their beautiful game design, and graphically, Ghost Recon Breakpoint is nothing short of being breathtakingly awesome. Like Wildlands, Breakpoint is a military shooter set in a diverse, hostile and mysterious open world that you can play entirely solo or in 4-player co-op. There is also a new and improved PvP system, but as I haven't had access to that, I won't be including it as part of this video. It's fair to say that when Wildlands released, it was an incredible feat in terms of gameplay, open world freedom and scale, but it had some serious failings which significantly hampered the overall experience for the vast majority of players. Ghost Recon Breakpoint looks to take all that was good about Wildlands, expand upon it, and improve those areas where player feedback demanded change. Moving away from the Bolivian-inspired Wildlands, Breakpoint is set on a fictitious island archipelago called Aroa, based somewhere in the South Pacific. Here Breakpoint aims to deliver more of what made Wildlands so appealing on an even more grandiose scale, by introducing more stealth elements, tougher AI, and a considerably more involved and complex survival system. Good-looking games have never been the issue with Ubisoft. Instead, it is the core gameplay where Ubisoft continuously seem to miss the mark. Perhaps they focus too much upon the extremities, and the core components end up being neglected as a result. We are of course talking about character and vehicle controls, relentless grinds, and AI and gameplay which offers little in the way of challenge or complexity. Ubisoft claim to have listened to this feedback. They acknowledge that change was needed, and Breakpoint aims to address these issues with the following improvements. Improved AI and all new injury and survival system. All new dynamic environments and stealth systems. All new gunsmith, weapon and class systems, and a completely overhauled PvP system. But have they done enough?
Enemy contact! Roger that,
To fully test this out, I opted to play on the hardest possible settings. I wanted to know just how challenging the new AI was, and how that would work with the new injury and survival system in place. So the new AI comes in a variety of flavours. First up, you have the average grunt. Basically, the grunt represents the least intelligent form of AI. They take longer to spot you, lose sight of you quicker, and offer very little in the way of attack or defence. Yes, it is true to say that they are pretty much everywhere on the map, but they are so ineffective that you could literally ride a motorcycle at full speed directly towards them, smash into a tree, somersault over the handlebars, take ages to get back to your feet, and still have enough time to kill 2 of them without sustaining any damage whatsoever.
I don't see anything walking away from these wrecks. They're all definitely dead.
Don't be so sure. Those weren't tourists on those birds. Only types that sign up for this kind of mission are the kinds of people who might just survive a shitstorm like ours.
Then of course you have the officer. Now the officer is pretty much the same as a grunt, except that they spot you much quicker and they don't forget that they did anywhere near as quickly.
Nothing's alive after all that.
Taking out a troop of grunts with an officer usually requires that you focus on the officer first, as they will undoubtedly call for support if you do not. From this point on, the AI do get increasingly more deadly. First, there are the heavily armoured grunts. Now, as intelligence goes, they are little more than your basic grunt, but their defences and their weaponry make them a massively more deadly foe. They're wearing full body armour and helmet, and only a well-placed headshot or 2 will have any effect on them. 1 heavy unit alone can kill you, but 2 or more require significant care and attention. Now there is another grunt-like unit that I haven't mentioned, the Radioman. He's no more of a threat, in fact probably less so, than your basic grunt, but depending on their position and situation, they might decide to track you or send for reinforcements. And the reinforcements that we're talking about are the hardcore military units. This includes drones and the elite fighting force known as the Wolves, who are led by none other than Colonel Cole D. Walker himself. There are various ways in which you can find yourself being tracked down by these elite units. They can be called in by a radio man, or if one of the heavy level 4 ground-based units spots you, and of course we have the ever-present threat of the overhead spotting drones. If the elite forces or the drones are on your tail, especially in hardcore mode, your chances of survival go from good to gone very, very quickly. Let's just say that if you are ever spotted, leaving the area immediately is highly recommended. So, if you do get spotted, find yourself in a scuffle or slip and fall on one of the steep inclines, what can you do about it? This is where the new stealth and survival system comes into play. Injuries are sustained through either combat or falls. Both hinder your player's ability to fight and can slow your movement. The more injured you are, the longer it takes to recover. All injuries are managed in the same way, with either bandages or injections, or by deploying a bivouac, which is essentially a mini HQ, allowing you to safely recover, swap weapons and plan strategic assaults. The injury system is a welcome addition to the game, as is the stamina bar. They both add a much needed sense of choice and consequence, whilst ensuring that one little mistake does not categorically require a respawn. Instead, it can instigate an unexpected yet rather exhilarating game of cat and mouse, where you need to decide quickly whether to run, fight or hide. I'll be honest though, part of me feels that the ability to hide in a bivouac rather detracts from the potential out in the field survival flavour which Breakpoint is trying to instill. Furthermore, the main base hideout, which is cleverly hidden in a mountain cave, is somewhat laughable, especially when you consider the helicopters and vehicles which are parked just outside the front of the main entrance. These are more silly issues, to be fair, poorly thought out examples of needing to have a central point of control for the game. So okay, I think we can pretty easily overlook these issues. But there is another part of me which feels that if I choose to play on hardcore mode, can't these creature comforts just be deactivated? Remove the bivouac option? Either way, this is a welcome addition to the game.
Stop right there! Who are you?
I was invited. Who the hell are you?
Another one. You can always turn around and go back down the mountain.
Things are a little tense, you know? Just watch how you handle that weapon. We don't allow shooting in Erewhon.
And what's Erewhon?
The cave, so we call it. Get in.
Aurora is comprised of multiple biomes, from the highest fjords and snowy peaks to the deepest swamps and lava fields. Each surface has different qualities and will affect movement, stability, and even your health. The environments are stunningly beautiful, hugely absorbing, and dramatic in both scale and design. The new dynamic terrain system makes slipping and falling an ever-present danger and really adds an additional level to the immersion. To enhance this, Breakpoint has introduced new camouflage capabilities. Prone camo allows you to use mud, dirt and snow in order to disguise both your visibility and heat signature. This makes avoidance and ambush a far more viable option to either running or fighting. You can pick up and carry teammates now, and even move down enemies in order to reduce the chances of being discovered. And furthermore, Breakpoint has introduced what is called adaptive cover. This is a system which automatically adapts your body position in order to match the available cover. This then allows you to execute advanced tactics such as leaning to aim around corners, trees or other forms of cover. Unfortunately, it doesn't work very well. Just to clarify my point here, the issue once again, just as it was in Wildlands, is that the player and vehicle controls here are atrocious. Player movement is boat-like, often taking many steps more than required in order to stop, turn, or even just adjust your position. This can cause a number of issues in a number of ways. Firstly, you'll find it hilariously difficult to position yourself to open a box or get on a vehicle that you want. Secondly, you'll be constantly stepping out into the open when trying to lean and be spotted by the enemy as a result. Worse still is the inability to go prone to avoid detection. The game keeps standing you back up, and when the wolves are coming, that means certain death.
We got hostiles! Shit! We're up!
This certainly is one of, if not the key issue for me. To be honest, I'm not a big fan of third-person views at the best of times. I simply cannot understand why Ubisoft refused to allow players the option to play in first-person mode, especially when there is an optional first-person view for weapon use already. The transition between third and first person often causes issues when aiming, and even more so when attempting to lean. I just feel that a first person perspective with lean would fix this issue immediately. Wildlands was mocked rightly and repeatedly for these horrendous controls, and the vehicles were, and unfortunately still are, even worse than the horrific boat-like player movement system. Vehicle handling is so bad and so unrealistic that it feels like you're trying to steer using just your voice with someone else's hands holding the wheel. The bikes especially are all over the place. They bounce, flip and ping about like rubber balls. They have no weight to them, no appropriate collision detection, and a delayed turn system, which ultimately forces you to overcompensate constantly. Ubisoft have not listened to the feedback surrounding this, and as such, despite all the improvements, the beautiful terrain and the epic new levels of difficulty and complexity, the game simply handles like trash. It is almost identical to Wildlands. I see absolutely no improvements here whatsoever, and having spent quite some time reading the feedback on the forums, these concerns are being reiterated across the board. One of the main reasons why I'm making this video is because although I could read the closed beta forums, for some reason I was unable to post any of my discovered bugs, thoughts or suggestions. Whenever I logged into Ubisoft, I was immediately blocked from the forum. A bug perhaps, or maybe I have been blacklisted. I don't know which, but I do hope that the devs see this video and take heed from what I am saying, and from what I am showing. I would have liked to have shared this with the devs directly, but unfortunately Ubisoft support staff's repeated suggestion of try again tomorrow just pissed me off. Now, the new gunsmith system is another feature which reinforces the suggestion that Ubisoft are finally trying to incorporate more of a realistic, or dare I say, simulated feel to their Ghost Recon titles. The gunsmith system introduces weapon customization, bullet ballistics and attachments which change the feel and capabilities of your weapon. This will be a welcome addition for the vast majority of Breakpoint players, although the cosmetic side of the gunsmith system doesn't really appeal to me all that much. However, I do understand that for many of you, this will also be a big plus. Now, the weapon system itself sounds great, but I'm yet to be convinced that the weapon physics and bullet ballistics are anything like authentic. Having only had a few days in which to experience these new features seriously limits the amount of test time that I could reliably perform. I can say that the number of weapons and attachments does appear to be considerable, and that the different weapons definitely do handle differently, but to say that they are realistic at this stage would be far too much of a leap of faith. There's a new class system too. It's vast and adaptive, allowing you to focus your Ghost's skill set to better reflect your own playing style. This class system can boost throwing distance, increase certain skills like stealth movement, and unlock certain class-specific perks like smokescreen. Whatever class direction you take, it will remain available to you regardless of which mode you're playing in, be it single player, co-op or PvP. So my final thoughts then on Breakpoint. Whilst it's fair to say that Breakpoint is more advanced than Wildlands, the fact that the core controls continue to be so unresponsive is a massive disappointment. It kind of renders all the new and impressive features as somewhat null and void. There seems to be no way to communicate player dissatisfaction to the developers, and yet another potential masterpiece will undoubtedly end up being just another Ubisoft game that is impressive and gorgeous to look at, and for once, I have to say, it is pretty deep and fleshed out, but still just disappoints on a massive scale, simply because the character controls and vehicle handling falls so far away from adequate. Games like PUBG introduced first-person perspective, and interest in the game skyrocketed as a result. Now, I'm absolutely certain that the same thing would happen here, but will they do it? Will they even listen? Unfortunately, I very much doubt it. The confirmation from Ubisoft that the game will receive updates every 4 months is great, but ultimately it's tantamount to adding more bacon to a mouldy sandwich. Over time, less and less people are going to be willing to take a bite. It's a massive shame because this game impresses me on a number of levels. It is almost the perfect experience. And if they just sorted out the controls, I think it really would be. So that's all from me, guys. Thank you very much for listening. I hope it's been informative. If you feel I've missed anything or have any questions about my experience, please feel free to leave me a question in the comments section and I'll try and answer each and every one of you. Until next time, take care. Goodbye for now.